There's another kasha. People say that they bring a kasha that it says in Kisvay Ari, Arizal, Kabula. So the way they say is that the Arizal says that there cannot be a tchailis bisman hazeh. We can't have tchailis when there's no bismikdash. So it can't be that he says that, by the way, because there was tchailis when there was no bismikdash. The bismikdash was churev, and you still had the tanuim that were after the chol bismikdash and the amaruim, and the tchailis was still around until the end of the tkifa of the gemur of the amaruim, until the rabbunas avarui. Hundreds of years the tchailis was around after the chol bismikdash. So obviously the Riyah Kudish does not say that, but let's quote the words of the Riyah Kudish. I'm not going to quote anything that has kabula diki kavuna, but I'm just going to quote what he speaks around it. He says a kavuna al pi kabula, and then after that he says, therefore viluchain, because of this kavuna, which is shaykh and has some connection to having a Beis Hamikdash. Viluchain hoyenoyig bisman shebes hamikdash kam. Therefore, this mitzvah was done, you were mekayim the mitzvah during the times of the Beis Hamikdash. Al tzitzis al lovon, the white tzitzis she'uni noheg moyam that we have today, is he medalid moichen aklilim bebined de'ime. He says a kavuna what it is. V'zehi hatam sha'ayin lo nitchaylis b'zman hazeh. That's the reason that we don't have tchaylis today. And he writes later that in fact the Inyan that the tchailis has to be mekayim, the kabula diki kavuna, that the tchailis has to accomplish for the tikkun oilam exactly what it's accomplishing in the depths of the oilam Yisrael yoinim gets accomplished today, but it doesn't get accomplished through our deeds because we're not capable of doing that because we don't have the Beis Hamikdash. He writes that she'ain luni atu koyach she'ayusei hadover al yudaini. We do not have the koyach that this should be done through our actions. So he writes, therefore we don't have tchailis. Now, obviously, what does he mean? Does he mean to say that if we have tchailis, we shouldn't wear it? Chas v'shulim. How could he say that? How could he be mevatel a mitzvah? No poskim say that. Nowhere does it say. There's no gemur. There's nothing to say that there could be tchailis in amchia fakeh. I've shown you that if there is tchailis, you are mechiv to wear it. Not only that, but you have there's a certain application lahalucha, and that is whether you're allowed to wear today a beged of pishton with tzitzis. So there are poskim who say that even today we shouldn't wear it. The reason originally that you shouldn't wear it is because if there was tchailis, somebody might put on tchailis and somebody might put on an imitation of tchailis, and it'll be shatnez shaloi b'mukim mitzvah. So, but today that there's no possibility. Today means not today. Today means today before the rediscovery of tchailis. If there's no possibility of anyone wearing tchailis, so nobody would wear an imitation either. So there's no fear of anybody being over on the issa of shatnez because they'll use strings of linen to pat a beged of linen. They won't use strings of wool because why would they? It's not that we don't have tchailis. But there are poskim who say that we should not wear a beged of pishton, because the Gzaira is still shaykh, and they quote the Maril says that it's possible that tchailis will be rediscovered. And the other poskim bring it, the Oilis Tumid, who is a posik that the Magen Avraham brings all the time. And the Malbim, the Artzis HaChaim, is a posik that the Mishnah Brira brings all the time. They say that the tchailis could come about. They also bring the Radvaz, that the Radvaz says that it's possible that the tchailis is around somewhere. It's just we don't know. We don't know how to identify it, but it's possible that it exists. So therefore, the poskim say it could be rediscovered. So clearly, they did not understand. The poskim, the Maril says it could be rediscovered, will be mechiv, will be wearing tchailis. There's no way to say that the Arizal says that even if we have tchailis, we don't have to be mekayim a mitzvah in the Torah. It's impossible. Chalil v'chalil. I mean, to say that is kemat kurev tapikosis, that the mitzvah is brutal. We say in the Animamens every day, the Torah will not be changed. There won't be a different Torah. The Torah which says you put on tchailis is the same Torah that we have today. If we have tchailis, we have to put it on. So maybe there's a different interpretation of the. Maybe he doesn't mean to say that if you have tchailis, you don't put it on. Chas v'shulim. Maybe he means to say that we just won't have tchailis because of this, because of the reason he says. So there will not be tchailis shelo b'zman habayis. Again, you can't say that because obviously there was tchailis shelo b'zman habayis. So he obviously doesn't mean to say there cannot be tchaylis. Also, I mean, what do you think is going to happen when the Beis Mikdash gets built? So the same day that they're going to build the Beis Mikdash, that same day they're going to discover the tchaylis and they're going to start dyeing wool, and everyone's going to be mechir. What? I mean, wouldn't it come about like a little bit before the binyan Beis Mikdash, as actually the Seifer, one of the Chivas Vurim, Yeshiyas Malkoi, actually says that, it could be that before the Ge'ila, Tchailis will reemerge. It's obviously something we're going to need after the Beis Mikdash is built, after Mashiach comes. So maybe, we're hoping the Mashiach is going to come any day. So now's the time. The Tchailis obviously at some point is going to be rediscovered. So who's to say it's not rediscovered now? But what the Riyah Kodesh is saying, without putting words into his mouth, which those interpretations are clearly doing, he doesn't say there cannot be tchaylis lebizman habayis. He doesn't say that if there's tchaylis, you don't wear it. What he does say is that, why the Rebbeinu Shalom needs all of these kavunas. He needs it because you need it in the world. It's the tikna oilam, all these kavunas for the kavuna, al bi kabula, what's needed to correct whatever is needed, whatever the mitzvahs accomplish in the oilamus u'alyonim. So how could it be that we're living in the world without it if it's something that we need? So the Riyah Kodesh says that it gets this kavuna, it gets accomplished, not through us. We're not capable of doing it anyway. So that's why the Rebbeinu Shalom didn't give us tchaylis for this time, because we anyway are not able to have this kavuna. Kind of explains how it could be that the Rebbeinu Shalom would allow this to happen, that we shouldn't have the mitzvah. That's what he says. He says, therefore, we don't have tchaylis b'zman hazeh because we're not able to be mekayim this kavuna. But he doesn't say we will not have tchaylis b'zman hazeh. That's putting words into his mouth. He doesn't say that if you have tchaylis, you put it. That's putting words into his mouth. Chas v'shulim. And the fact of the matter is, we've proven beyond a doubt that we have tchaylis b'zman hazeh. And the Riyah Kodesh does not say different.